That's Rick Stojak on the drums, y'all. Give it up for Rick Stojak. Welcome, everybody, back, and welcome to the Drummers Education Connection. I am thrilled to be back after a couple weeks away. My name is Jeremy Steinkohler. I'm here with my dear friends, great dudes, great drummers, and terrific educators. Bart Robley, Southern California.
Hello.
Chip Ritter in Tucson, Arizona.
Hello.
Rick Stojak from San Diego.
What's up, everyone?
And our guest today is our very good friend of the show, a terrific drummer and educator in his own right, James Harrison. Welcome finally to the show. We're thrilled to have you.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, I'm just gonna read his bio that he sent us because there's so much great stuff in it. In addition to being a digital creator and percussion teacher, James is the former drumline and drum set instructor at Boise State University. Also formerly the adjunct percussion instructor at Northwest Nazarene University, Treasure Valley Community College, and was the former Percussive Arts Society president in Idaho, the Idaho chapter, for 12 years.
Wow.
Lots of stuff to talk about. He's played with lots of famous musicians, including Steve Miller, Bo Diddley, Arturo Sandoval, Phyllis Diller, Bruce Willis, curious about that one, and other top jazz players. And also performed in a drum battle / duet with the great Louie Bellson and Billy Cobham. Wow. That sounds unbelievable. James was the director of education for Vater Drumsticks. Are you still working in that position or no longer?
No, I don't.
Okay. And just moved to Virginia. And he's a clinician for Yamaha drums, Remo drumheads, Vater drumsticks, and Sabian cymbals. You can check him out. We'll put up a link to his website. Wow, that's a lot of stuff, man. Where do we start? Let's start at the beginning. How'd you get started playing drums?
Well, I've tried to do this semi-short. I think the drums picked me. I don't think I picked the drums, but I was always fascinated by those. But I had a neighbor that was like, when I was about in maybe first grade or so, kindergarten, they were in sixth grade band and they had a drum and they were out back of their house. This was in Detroit, Michigan. And they were beating on the drum, and I just went over there and was fascinated by it. And I feel like that started something. And no matter what I did, every toy drum my parents got me, I broke it because I played it so much. You know what I mean? And whatever. And then my parents got divorced when I was like 7. And I moved to Kentucky. My mom moved back to the South where she was from. And my grandparents bought me a toy drum. I broke it. They bought me one from Sears. If you've ever seen those red sparkle ones with the gold plastic hardware, I had one, and it sounded like a real drum, but it was a toy drum, and I broke it because I played so much. And they finally just said, "All right, this is obviously not a passing fancy with him." So they bought me my first real snare, which was a Slingerland Gene Krupa model, and I started taking lessons, and I was probably 4th grade, maybe somewhere in there. And my first teacher was a brush master. So if you're wondering why I'm always talking about brushes, it's because of that teacher. And then I just dove head into band. And so by the time I got to 6th grade band, I'd already been taking lessons for a year and a half or so. So I was kind of advanced in some ways compared to everybody. Mm-hmm. And then I got lucky enough, this small town I grew up in Murray, it's called Murray, Kentucky. The band directors were very successful in the city school system where over 60% of the student body was in the band. And so the high school band won the National Marching Bands of America Championship when I was a junior. So it was a very competitive thing, very active. My high school jazz band played at the Midwest Conference in Chicago. And I was in McDonald's All-American Band and everything. And I ended up getting a 4-year scholarship to Murray State University, which was the local college. And I had wanted to go there anyway because the teacher there had studied with Cerrone at San Jose State back at the day. So I just wanted to follow that lineage and everything. So I got a degree in music from Murray State and ended up going. I played on the road and all this kind of stuff, but I ended up going to Boise State when my former Murray State University marching band director became the director at Boise State. And he brought me out as a graduate assistant first, and I became the drumline instructor. And I said, listen, I don't want to do just marching anymore. So I started doing drum set there. And then I ended up staying in that adjunct position for 32 years. So,
wow.
That's a very condensed version, but that's what it is. So
that's great.
So yeah,
So
can't get away from it, you know.
yeah, that's all. We haven't had a lot of guys on who have taught at the college level. Do you do you need a master's degree to teach at college or no?
You don't need it. It obviously depends on the university and what their needs are. To get any kind of a real tenured position or anything that's fully benefited,
Right.
yes, you almost need to have a doctorate, period, anymore.
Gotcha.
And this is not a slam on anything, but I think that a degree in college used to be like a certain staple.
Right.
Yeah.
And then to be above that, you had to have a master's. And then the elite had the doctorate. I think that's all changed to where you pretty much have to have a master's and a doctorate if you want to get any kind of fully benefited or tenured position. But there's people who get hired sometimes that are a lot of times what they call them professional speakers, or they get hired in some capacity because of their status as a player, anything like that. And they don't necessarily have to even have a degree sometimes.
Gotcha.
Depends on the type of school and everything like that. But to be any kind of a full-time position, yes, you do.
I'm curious.
When I started those positions with a degree, but not with a master's.
Got it. What did you find? This is maybe a little bit in the weeds, but I'm curious, as a drumline instructor and a drum set instructor at the college level, what did you find was the sort of most lacking skill set or part of their abilities for high school graduates?
Double stroke rolls.
Good question.
Okay, well, now when I first went to Boise, I feel like they were in a different pool of talent there. Boise is a booming place now. It's super expensive to live there, and it's grown. It's probably 3 times the size it was when I first moved there, easily. But once you get outside of the city, it was a lot of rural schools and stuff like that, and their exposure. Even though I came from a small town in Kentucky, I feel like the competitive environment in the marching level, and I was 2 hours away from Nashville, everything, the exposure to everything in Kentucky seemed like much more competitive and at a much higher level than it was when I first went to Idaho. And I'm not saying there wasn't talent there. I'm saying that the exposure to that competitive environment was not there. And so for a lot of people that came in, unless they had stepped out and gone to audition for a drum corps or had gone to some kind of a jazz camp, they just weren't exposed to the kind of things that I was exposed to because of sometimes college, sometimes going to see clinics, obviously going to Percussive Arts Society conventions. If you guys have gone, you know that the first time you go, you're just like, wow. It's like every hour, somebody slaps you in the face. Whoa, you know. And then just like a kid in the candy store when you're in the exhibit area, you know.
Right.
And I felt like when I first went to Idaho, they just didn't have any of that kind of exposure. It's completely different now.
Yeah.
I feel like the marching band is a great marching band at Boise State now. Is a very, very, very good drum line. The exposure that they have with some of the teachers that have come in now have core experience. A lot of the people have come into those kind of positions that have that and raise the level up to where it's very competitive across the board now. That's my opinion. I just think when I went there, it was 87. It just seemed like it wasn't, they weren't hip to a lot of things.
Okay.
But now it's very, very hip in Boise because Fred Fisher lives there.
There you go.
That's why it's growing, because everybody wants to live in the same town as Fred Fisher.
Naturally.
James, it's so good to have you on the show, and it feels like we know you already, and because you've participated in the Deck Show, watching us online and making super well educated comments on every topic. So I just wanted to thank you for that, and obviously you're just a super proactive guy. It seems like in the drum world, it seems like you put time into everything. So how are you spending your time these days? Like what's your thing now?
Well, right now I'm still settling in, and believe it or not, I'm still unpacking. I'm upstairs in a house that has the ceilings like this.
Yeah.
And at the other end of it, there's a guest room right here, but the other end of it, it's just full of drums everywhere. I'm kind of setting up. I obviously shoot videos and stuff over there, but I've just switched and decided to put a different kit up. I'm putting up a larger recording custom kit that I love the sound of, and so I've just been focusing a lot on that. And I'm still new to the area, but trying to get out there a little bit. I went to Todd Zuckerman was here last month, and I went to one of his master classes, and just to meet other drummers was part of it too. That was my goal, and say, hey, I'm new in town, blah blah blah. So I'm trying to kind of expand in a new thing. I get more people reaching out to me from my past in terms of wanting to take a lesson, or hey, how do you do this? Let's just do a few lessons back and forth or whatever. Then I do finding new ones in the area yet, because I've been to a few music stores and introduced myself and stuff, but I still haven't established in this area yet. So part of what I'm trying to do is get familiar, but at the same time, keep active by doing a lot more of the social media stuff, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. And you're doing online lessons then, or are you teaching out of your house if there are?
I'm not teaching out of my house yet, because it's, to be honest with you, it's such a mess right here. And we also have 3 dogs. So then anytime somebody comes in, it takes a good 20 minutes to calm the dogs down.
I know the feeling. I live in a zoo myself.
So I don't have them in-house yet, but not that I'm against that, but I'm going to focus on, right now it's more Zoom, Skype, whatever what's it called, Teams now, something like that.
Yeah.
That kind of situation. And then when I get it completely set up and everything out of the way, and then I'll start bringing some people into the house too.
Very good. I have a question for you, James, and I think this might interest some younger viewers and younger players. You're involved with marching and drumline and whatnot. For a young person that's involved in marching band, drumline, they got those chops, and they go to college and they graduate from college. Okay, they're getting their degree in music.
Okay.
What is the opportunities after college with drumline? Where can they go from there with that skill set as a marching drummer or a drumline drummer?
Well, the most obvious thing is local high school programs or junior high programs in their area, because they're always looking for some kind of instruction, because typically the band director is very limited on the type of knowledge or keeping up on what they need to keep up with when it comes to the marching arts, because it's just gone gangbusters. And the stuff they're playing now is, I've said this, and this is not meant as a slam in any way, but the marching percussion stuff they're playing now is like the gospel chops of drum set now.
Right.
It is just so ridiculous and difficult, and taking the bass rudiments and stretching it into any kind of polyrhythmic thing over the bar line and all that, yet you have to march and move and go here and here. And the level of what the drum corps are playing is tremendous. And of course, the competitive programs try to mimic that. Even if they're not at that same level, they try to mimic that. So there's always a need for somebody who has some kind of expertise in that area. I think the hardest thing is when you're fresh out of it, you have a mindset as to what's going on at that time. But it's a difficult form to stay current with, because it's constantly evolving. And we know drum set does that too. If somebody said, hey, I've got a blast band, I'd say, hey man, I'm not your guy.
Right. Chip.
I respect what they do, but it's not my genre. I didn't grow up in that.
Right.
I didn't grow up in the gospel chops. I think it's amazing, but it's not my forte,
Yeah.
Right.
So I think marching is very much that way, and it's a specialized area that most schools have put such an emphasis on that now that there's a need for it. Certain states, Texas, it's very, very big, of course. Obviously, and this, we're not to get in a political discussion, but the current state of politics and funding is affecting public schools greatly. And I think that a lot of that's starting to fall back more so on booster organizations and parents and outside donors to keep that kind of stuff going, because it's a very expensive thing to be at. Marching band is very expensive.
Right. What about things like the corps, like, you know, the Blue Knights and the Red Devils and all those corps? Is there opportunities there, and is that just a thing to say, oh, I played in that band? Where can you go from there with something like that? Is that an opportunity as well?
Well, it's the Blue Devils, by the way. But
Blue Devil, Blue Devils, Gray Knights.
Yeah,
I don't even know what I threw out there.
I mean, I feel like when you're a part of those organizations as a performer, it's like this. The way I would equate it, it would be like, oh yeah, I played with Journey, or I played with this. Right. You're taking the top of that world, and you've got that stamp of approval because you were a part of that. Yeah. And as you go out, and if you're part of that fraternity, you go out, you say, yeah, I marched in the Blue Devils. Automatically, you're just at this point from down here to up here, and people are like, yeah, hey, can we get you to come in and help us out? As opposed to you say, yeah, I marched in high school band and college band. Not that your expertise is not needed, but it's not like, hey, I played in a local rock band or I played with Journey. There's a big difference.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I was going with the question, because I know a lot of young kids coming out of college, you know, that's kind of their aspiration. And then they'll always say, well, where do I go from there? And that's basically the same answer that I give them, but I wanted to hear what you had to say about it, because I know you kind of lived in that world for a while.
Well, yeah. And, you know, I got lucky that I knew somebody that was looking for an instructor. And I had been, you know, oddly enough, in college, I marched 2 years and I quit. And it wasn't because I didn't love it. It was because the gigging opportunities to play drum set took over for me. I was still studying music, but I thought, you know what? I could go march this game every weekend, or I can go make some money. So I chose to make the money playing. And I kind of equated this as, I've always wanted to have, if you imagine a person standing up, I've got one leg in the education world and one leg in the professional world. And I always wanted to have that balance, because I had seen people that were highly educated, and then they'd go somewhere without sheet music in front of them. They say, hey, play something, and they didn't know what to do.
Right.
And then I've seen people that were no theory background, couldn't read a note, but could jump in and play a field just like that, you know? And so I thought, well, I need to be able to do both of those kind of things. And I said this before, that this is nothing against education. I just think that you need to, it's become so expensive. I was lucky. I had everything paid for, right? So, but it's an expensive venture to have college now. I say sit down and write out your schedule for the entire 4+ years that you're going to be there, and find out, if you make a mistake, where does it mess you up? Because the music degrees, there's not a lot of play in there. Everything's kind of a graduated level. If you fail theory 1, you have to wait a year to start again in theory in a lot of places, you know, and it throws you behind. So because it's such an expensive venture, I say figure that out. And then what are your goals at the end of it?
Right.
And I tell people, if you're not in education, meaning you're not, and I messed this up myself, if you're not getting an education degree, then in my opinion, you're in the wrong field. You're in the wrong area. And this is not against people who get performance degrees. Those people have a vision to go on to teach college and whatever. And that means something. But if you're a good enough performer in any way, as long as you get some kind of paper credential, you're going to get where you need to be. But an education degree gives you a piece of paper where you're actually qualified to go out and apply for a job instead of saying, I met these requirements and I graduated.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
Greg Bissonette is my perfect example. He has an education degree, not a performance degree. He has an education degree. He keeps it certified and keeps it up to date. He doesn't need to. Look at the career he's had.
Right.
But he does it, and he's always done it just in case, because he said that the reason he did that, if it didn't work out for him playing, he could apply for a job. Having a degree in music, that's not that. Let's say it's a degree in music business or anything like that. It just means you met the requirements. And again, I'm probably going to get slammed for saying that, but it's not a certification that you can get a job with. You're still going to have to. You're still going to have to be a great interviewer and all that kind of stuff. You know.
And when you say get a job, you're talking teaching at the collegiate level, correct?
I'm talking about public education.
Okay.
High school, junior high, everything. You're a certified teacher when you get that education degree.
Okay.
When you get a degree in music, that's a general degree or a music business degree, you're not certified to do anything. You just met the requirements of that degree.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No,
it
does. No, it doesn't, because I did the same thing as you did. I mean, I was at one point a billion years ago, I was putting myself through school and going through college and working a day job and playing in a band at night and give it private lessons. And I got to a point where it was maybe much like you. I was fed up and I was like, well, I can either go make some money playing the drums and teaching the drums in private lessons, or I can stay in school and get a piece of paper to go on and do that later in life. And so I chose to go play. And it was just, that's what I wanted to do. And that sword cuts both ways, because now, now a little bit later, it's like, man, if I had that degree, maybe I could apply for a collegiate level employment. But I do enjoy doing what I do. I enjoy being a private instructor, and I still love being on the road and everything like that. So anyway, we're going down a different road now, but no, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying.
Well, like I said, I'm not trying to downplay education. I'm saying that, the education degree part of it certifies you to get a job in public education. Everything else, you're just meeting that level. If you're a great player at anything, then your playing is going to take you where you need to go, more so than the degree.
Oh, I completely agree with that. Either you can play or you can't. And that's just the way it is.
But if you are going to try to get a college spot or a full-time professor position, then yes, most of those people are
masters.
Well, they got their undergraduate degree in performance, then they got a master's in performance. Sometimes they add education on the side of that. Then they get a doctorate, sometimes in pedagogy or whatever. But it's usually performance all the way, and then they get a job teaching that instrument at the college, be it percussion or whatever. And they're fabulous. I'm not saying they did the wrong thing. They just had a vision. I think a lot of people that go to college, they just start college without this, what's the light at the end of the tunnel? Where am I going with this?
James, did you say the education degree, once you've received it, it does need updating and recertification?
It does. It depends on the state as to how long that goes, but yes, it does.
What's that generally look like to keep it up to date?
Some states it's 5 years. Most it's within 10 years. You have to have a certain number of courses or credits that you take to keep the certification clear. And they'll tell you what you need to take. It might say, the technology's changed. You need to take this computer course, or you need, what I mean? It's something like that usually.
Yeah. Now, would it be fair to say if you were going for a performance degree and you were doing the drum line and marching, that could be a segue to getting into an orchestra, to work into the orchestral world?
It could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be a
But,
potential
yeah,
segue if for all of this drumline stuff.
yeah, but again, that orchestra world is even a smaller opportunity than anything else you can imagine, because usually if you get those positions in the top symphonies, they are lifetime positions.
Yeah. We've had 2 people on that were in orchestras. One of my old drum teachers, Robert Slack, and the guy from Dragonfly, Jeremy, what was his name?
Oh my gosh, I'm spacing out. Was it Dinesh?
Yeah, it was Dinesh. Yes, you're correct. Yeah, from Dragonfly Percussion. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a blind audition, and you're kind of groomed for orchestral drumming from the time you're a kid. I mean, you're literally like focused on that.
Those positions are ultra competitive, and they're very, very few and far between. And
they're very specialized. And again, the people that have chosen that path, they don't just fall into it at the last minute. They've usually, especially by college, they start that path, and a lot of times they'll march their 2 years because a lot of college programs require it, but a lot don't, and then they just stay in that orchestral world, and things that for a drum set player we don't even think about. For them, timpani is the main thing as an orchestra player. It's the number one spot in most symphonies. We can use Vic Firth as a classic example. We know him as, the drum guru who started the stick company, right? But most people don't realize that he was the timpanist forever.
Yeah,
right.
And built that empire and became well known on that. And the reason he started the sticks was because he saw these orchestral players coming in with $1,000 instruments, and he was playing a snare drum with sticks that weren't even weighted, or they were $2, and he wanted to make sure that they were the same pitch, same weight, and everything. So that started that area.
Right. Well, and one last thing is about that. Marching band and drumline is a different animal than orchestral playing. I mean, there's some overlap, obviously some overlap on the technical side, but in addition to being able to play timps and mallets, just the type of playing as an orchestral player is very different. You're playing on a different instrument than a marching snare drum, and the technique is different. The sticks are different.
Really, the entire approach, unless you're going to talk about the front ensemble, the drum corps, that's probably the closest thing that they do that's getting to orchestral stuff. And they learn how to crash cymbals properly. I'm not talking about the ones on the field that are doing a lot of the visuals and stuff. I'm talking about the front ensemble and whatnot. And they've now, with the miking and stuff like that, they've learned to play away. Of course, they are very theatrical and stuff, but they've learned to play the instrument properly. That's probably the closest connective tissue, if you want to call it that.
Right.
But obviously, being in the marching arts it can be very, very good for your chops and your hands, your technique.
Right.
You just have to be able to separate that.
That's right.
So it's no different than if you're in a heavy metal band and you're in the orchestra. You have to separate one from the other.
Right.
Hey, Bonham played timpani, man. So, hey, real quick, we're at the halfway point in the interview, and we forgot to do this at the top. Real quick, James is involved with Vater Percussion, and he has some sticks and some mallets and a practice pad that he wants to give away today.
It's giveaway time.
And so he's going to give some stuff away. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm watching that page, and Chip is watching the Facebook page. If you type in the word deck, you are going to be entered in, DEC, you're going to be entered in to win something. So put your name, so if you're on YouTube and your name is, Blue Cable, put your real name, and then you'll be able to get in touch with us and give us your address. James will mail you the prize of your choice.
Thank you, James.
So thank you for that. So put in your name. Also, if you are on YouTube, if you would do us a huge favor, if you haven't already, please like the video and please subscribe to us on YouTube. That would be absolutely fantastic. And I'm doing that at the halfway point because James asked us to say that he had the stuff to give away, and just kind of as a reminder. So now back to James. I got a question for you. A lot of the videos that you post and everything, we're talking marching band and drumline and everything, but you do a lot of brush stuff. And also at the top of the hour, Jeremy said you've played with Steve Miller and you've played with Bruce Willis and all this stuff. I know he had a blues band, and you're a brush player, so you've dabbled in a little bit of everything. So I'm going to jump in. How did you get the Bruce Willis gig, and what was that?
Okay, so first off, it wasn't really a Bruce Willis gig. Okay. The first time I was playing a fundraiser in Sun Valley, Idaho, which is a ski resort town, with this band. And then they called me up and they said, "Hey, Steve Miller, he lived in Sun Valley, is going to show up, and he's going to sit in, but you can't say anything." Huh. So okay, it's a secret, whatever. And it was kind of a hotty-toddy crowd type of thing, tuxedos and stuff like that. And I said, "Oh, great," And then they said he's going to play stuff off of his new album. I have no idea what it is, so I went out and bought it, and it was called Wild Horses or something like that. And so I listened to it on the way up, and this was a cassette back then. This was in the 90s, and I went up there, and so I'm setting up the drums, and this guy comes up and smacks me on the shoulder, says, "Hey, man," and I turn around and it's Bruce Willis. And of all things, he looks as mean as hell. I mean, he looks like he did in Pulp Fiction, and he had like a white what do they call them, white beater tank tops or whatever, and he had jeans tucked into boots, and he's like, "Hey, do you know where so-and-so is?" I said, I don't even know who that is. And he said, "Oh, he owns the building." And I said, "Oh, well, no, I don't know who he is." So, all right, fine. There's Bruce Willis. Okay, cool. So we're playing this thing, and all of a sudden, Steve Miller shows up. We're going to do these songs with him. And he just wants to do this one new tune, and he just wants to play blues. So we're just jamming. Well, Bruce Willis shows up with a briefcase full of harmonicas and jumps up and starts to play. And so that was the first thing. And then at the end of that gig, Steve Miller says, "Hey, what are you guys doing for New Year's?" "I want to play New Year's." So we did a New Year's gig. We had a gig. He actually jumped on our gig. So I ended up playing New Year's with Steve Miller.
That's cool.
And Bruce Willis was one of those guys who would come sit in with bands because he lived in that Sun Valley area.
And a briefcase.
Yeah, and he would just want to jam. And sometimes, this is not a slam anyway, but sometimes bands they take a break after he's played just so he would be done because it was time. Sometimes it was hard to get him to stop. And but Steve Miller, I had told him, "Hey, when I was a kid, one of my favorite tunes was Take the Money and Run because of the drum intro." But he just wanted to play blues. And on that New Year's gig, he said, this is in the middle of the gig, "Hey, we're going to take James back to his childhood.
Oh,
Go ahead." And I, "Really?" And so I started the intro.
Love it.
And the entire crowd's like, "Woo, woo." And he starts playing. He goes up to the mic and he backs up. He goes up to the mic and he backs up and he turns around and he says, "Man, I can't remember the words." And so he just starts singing the chorus. "Go on." And you can see like the light go on and he goes, "This is a story about Billy Joe and Bobby Stu." And then after that, he went right back to just blues stuff and everything. And I had him autograph a drum head for me and stuff like that. So it wasn't like I toured with Steve Miller. I played with Steve Miller. I played with Bruce Willis. Phyllis Diller, I played a casino resort gig with her for 2 weekends, and she was interesting. Believe it or not, she's a Juilliard graduate in music.
Huh? Really? No kidding.
Yeah. So I guess she was quite the pianist, but she went into comedy. The first thing that she told me in the first show, she said, "If you do a rim shot on my joke, you're fired."
Yeah.
I said,
really?
I put the sticks down. I didn't want to have them in my hand. You know what I mean?
I've done some gigs with actors, and that's a way different animal.
They hate
that's
it. Yeah.
Oh my
rim shot
God,
stuff.
it's a different
My
animal.
pastor hates it too.
Yeah, the Bo Diddley gig was interesting, but we'll save that for another time.
Oh no, too late. Now we need to hear all about it.
Let's hear it.
That was my next question.
Well, of course, what do you do with this Bo Diddley? You learn the Bo Diddley beat, right? And I show up for the gig, no rehearsal, just show up, and this is in, again, Sun Valley. He comes out and he says, "Hey man, I want you to go up first, and then you just start doing like a like a two beat."
Yeah. And
then each band member will come up, and then I'll come up last, and we'll go into a song. Perfect. So I come in, I do it. Everybody's just jamming. He comes up and he goes, it's cut. Like, okay. So then he starts that. So everybody just jumps in. I go to the floor tom. And he turns around. He says, "No man, no man, no man. I go, "What?" So yes, I've got this da 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 da. Everybody's yelling at me. Bo Diddley beat. Bo Diddley beat. So we get through the first song, and I keep telling him, he said oompa. I go, so he starts another tune. It's very similar. I start the Bo Diddley beat. He turns around, and I'm going to cuss here because I'm using his words. And he turns around and he goes, "Oompa! This is the fucking 90s, not Bo Diddley."
Oh man.
Really?
So I played the rest of the show without doing the Bo Diddley beat. Right? But I was so bummed because I wanted to do that Bo Diddley beat. But
of course.
He just turned around to me. He goes, "Man, this is the fucking 90s. Oompa, oompa." Okay.
Wow.
So that's what I did. And he autographed the CD box for me. He was cool about everything after that. It's just that he's like, I actually gave him a ride back to the airport, which was 2.5 hours to the airport in Boise. And he played me a recording. He said, "This is my new stuff," you know. He gave me a cassette, and I listened to it. And RIP, I don't want to say anything bad, but it wasn't at all what I imagined for being Bo Diddley. And he's like, "Yeah, man, the new stuff's got to be, you got to stay off drugs and keep the kids in school and all this kind of stuff." And everything just had a to it. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking, when people see Bo Diddley, they expect Bo Diddley. You know?
Yeah.
So it was a great experience to play with him, but I missed the opportunity to be able to play the Bo Diddley beat. So,
well, it sounds like you did it the very first 4 bars before you turned around. You got it in, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, for 2 seconds. Yeah.
What a story. Huh.
Man. Well,
James.
sometimes people don't want to go back to their old catalog. They want to step away from it. Linda Ronstadt, I mean, like, she doesn't want to play any of her old stuff when she's, she wants to play current stuff. She won't do it. Kind of lets the fans down, I think, sometimes.
Well, I think they've earned the right to do what they want to do, but as a musician, you're seeing this legend and you're thinking, "I'm going to get to play with this legend."
Right.
And I still got to play with the legend. It's just that I was expecting to be able to play the classic Bo Diddley sound, the classic Bo Diddley beat. And it didn't end up being that, but I still got to play with the legend. Yeah.
Well, most musicians at that level, when they're touring, they understand that people are there to see what they're familiar with, and they do a mix, right? They do the old hits, and then they do a little bit of the new stuff to try to turn people on to their new album, which most people don't care about,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Arturo Sandoval was amazing. He said, "Hey, can you set up some timbales for me, but set them up backwards?" I said, "Sure." He came over and played the timbales in this show, and it was scary good. And I'm like, I couldn't have done that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he sat at the piano and scared the piano player because he was so good. So that guy could play anything.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really cool. Let's hear about your brushwork stuff. You've done a lot of jazz. You show some brushwork stuff on Facebook all the time.
I've enjoyed. Sorry,
Talk
Bert.
about that. No, that's okay. Go ahead. Talk about that.
I just want to say I've enjoyed those videos quite a bit.
Well, thank you.
The flex.
most of that came from my first drum teacher. He was a jazz player, and he owned a music store in Murray, and he was from Chicago, and he was what I consider to be a brush master. And he got my love for it started, but I learned a lot of stuff, and I just kind of abandoned it because I went down this rock path.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started playing in a jazz big band in Idaho. I have a Buddy Rich kit. I'd use that Buddy Rich kit, and I kind of started bringing some of the brush stuff back out during that. And then I was in a house gig forever that was rock. And so it just got to be where most of the brush stuff was just happening in the house. And then when COVID happened, I thought I should start shooting some videos, out of boredom because I was locked in the house. I started doing that. And then I just kind of thought, I haven't done this forever, and try to get smooth at it again, if that makes any sense.
Of course.
And then I kind of feel like it's a lost art form in some ways, and certainly an underappreciated one. And a lot of younger people, when they think brushes, they just think you use them to play quieter instead of creating this sound that is not just this vertical up and down, but horizontal and long and short and all this kind of stuff. And, when I see Jeff Hamilton, I'm just amazed at everything he does, and brush masters from the past, and then, brush masters that are current and all that. And so I thought, I'm going to start saying some brushes stuff. And then every time I would try to teach a student brushes, they always felt super uncoordinated with it, or they felt very afraid or timid. And so I thought, well, if I post these videos, and I usually do some that are very basic that explain a pattern, how I did it. That's not the only way. And I've always said, you don't have to cross your hands over if you don't want to. Just get comfortable with moving in a lateral position, if you want to call it that, and get sounds that you're comfortable with. You don't have to know 27 brush beats. You just have to know one or two good ones. And you can make it through a gig.
Yeah.
And I've been in dinner clubs before where I never touched a pair of sticks, so I was glad that I had that foundation. And I thought, well, you know what, I'm 64 now. Let's shoot these videos and let's show people that the brushes can be cool. That's part of the reason I want to give away some brushes as part of this package.
Fantastic.
I appreciated what you said there about, this is just the way I learned it. This is just the way I did it. It's not necessarily the only way. There's a great video that Hudson put out several years ago. I think it's called The Art of Brushes, The Art of Playing Brushes. And
I have it.
Yeah. That's a fantastic resource, and things have evolved since then. There's all kinds of guys doing new stuff that stuff didn't cover, that video didn't cover. But what they did was they took 5 of the best, most renowned living brush players and brought them in, and they talked about how they learned their technique, and then they had them play these same standards, like they had played a ballad and a medium swing and an up tempo, and they show each of them doing the 5 different dudes playing the same tunes, and they all do it completely differently.
I think that's the one that Steve Smith and Adam Nussbaum were narrators on.
That's right.
And
That's right.
they were used, those guys were used to be able to communicate it to an audience, where, like, I think it was Charlie Persip that's in there, that he's playing with these old beat up brushes and everything, but it sounds fantastic. Yeah. And I think it's Billy Hart that's in there that just sounds so smooth. It's like it's like tearing a piece of paper slowly. It's just so smooth when he's playing, So I appreciate that kind of stuff, I actually had a video, oddly enough, of a trick my first teacher showed me, where you click the brushes together and they flobble like that, and then you bring them down to the head. Now, obviously, there's a rim flex where you can hit the rim and you lower it to the head as it's dying, and it goes, right? This little thing, I call it the butterfly. You just hit it, and then as the wings are flapping, you just lower it to the head. For some reason, it just took off on social media, on Reels on Facebook, and it got 4.6 million views.
Whoa, really?
And I had the most I had ever had before was maybe 400,000 on something. Usually I'll get 1,000 to 5,000 views on something on Facebook. YouTube, it's completely different. One video will get a few hundred, one will get a few thousand, but I've never had anything take off like that, where it's, right now it's at 4.6 million as of today.
Incredible.
So that's a reel. Does it disappear, or is it still up?
It's still up. It's just a reel. but it,
Okay.
it only lasts a few seconds, but it's the funny thing is the more people that comment or like it, it
Right.
keeps the
Viral.
what do you call the algorithm going?
Algorithm
Right.
going, yeah.
Now, I'll be honest with you. If you read some of the comments, I get slammed for 1,000 different. Oh, that sounds crap. That drum sounds like a milk jug. Or
Wow.
why would you do that? Why don't you just hit the rim? And I would have to, because it's a different sound effect. I'm just showing a trick that my first teacher showed me.
God.
Blah, blah, blah. Whatever.
Yeah.
I've had people, dude, go on a diet. I've had,
Oh my God.
I
Oh my God.
I did a video of Fool in the Rain just to demonstrate. I did a long one to talk, but I just did a little clip of it where I just played the groove for a second. And I got a comment last night on it. And it said, "Fool at the buffet."
Oh man.
Because
Wow.
making a comment about weight. And I'm like, I've been raked across the coals. I've some people say, "Man, that drum sounds incredible." Other people said that drum sounds horrible. It's just I guess that's what's out there, social
That's
media.
the price of notoriety, I guess. in
But
today's
if
social media
it
age.
makes more people watch it, that's all that matters to me. If somebody walks away liking it, it means more to me than somebody who walks away saying I hate it.
It's really easy to be a critic behind a computer screen. And
Of course.
everybody's a critic. And, get out there and do something. Go, you make a video. Let me
Right.
see your brush video. Come on, I-
Well, lately, what I've been
if anybody
focusing on-
wants to make fun of me because of my bald head, feel free. I don't care. I mean,
I've seen the videos with your hair.
yeah, you make fun of that. Now I'm
Those you can make
sensitive.
fun of. Yeah.
You can make fun of those. No, don't make fun of those. That hurts the one feeling I have.
Oh.
I have videos where I have hair too. There's one called "A Tribute to Buddy." I was a guest with a high school jazz band thing,
Yeah.
and I did my Buddy Rich tricks and stuff like that. And it's on my YouTube page, which is just James Animal Harrison, all one word. The J and James, the A and Animal, and the H and Harrison are all the same. Because otherwise, you'll get the Pittsburgh Steelers football player James Harrison. But
Okay. Got
if you scroll down there's hundreds of videos. There's some really long form brush videos. There's a bunch of short ones. There's all that stuff. But lately, I've been focusing on either brush videos or I've gotten into this whole thing about shuffles.
yeah.
And the reason I'm getting into shuffles is to try to get people to understand the connective tissue that shuffles are a part of every form of music that's out there in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Yeah.
And be it in jazz, swing, Western swing, rockabilly, rock,
Right.
even metal and
Yeah.
heavy rock and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes you can't reach a young student that has no interest in jazz, but you say, well, John Bonham played this shuffle like when he did this too. They go, what?
Right.
So all of a
Right.
sudden, you go, and that shuffle came from this.
Yeah.
And so on. It's like the Rosanna shuffle where Jeff Picaro says, I got it from Bernard Purdy and John Bonham. And, I did a video where I did a Bernard
And
Purdy
the Bo Diddley
type
beat.
shuffle.
And the
Yeah.
Bo Diddley beat, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey,
Sorry, I
James,
didn't
I have a
interrupt.
quick question for you. Streaming 4.6 million views. Did you make some money off that?
Not yet.
You probably will, though.
It's hard to say because sometimes when you get a big peak like that, they usually don't run. Like, I think the most I've ever gotten off of, I guess you call it Meta,
Yeah.
Facebook, is a little over $100 a month or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's broken down into so many different ways. You get views, you get ads on views, you get whatever, even pictures and whatever. So,
And the algorithm for YouTube is on a short, I think it's 1 million watch hours a month or something like that.
I think it's 3
For
million
shorts.
views. 3 million views on shorts a
On
year.
shorts. Okay.
I think it's 10,000 hours on long form videos. Something like that.
It's
But-
10,000 on long form.
This particular one that took off is on Reels, which is Instagram and Facebook, because that's the same company. They kind of show you monthly where you stand is what you're going to get. But like sometimes a video might start here and then they cut off their dates and then it filters over into the next month depending on, like, it's not tracked. It's tracked from month to month, but not if the video came out 2 weeks before that month ended, you might see some of it on the next time. So I haven't seen it spike in terms of a huge payment yet. I hope it does, but if it doesn't, it doesn't, you know.
Man, I think they should pay you for putting out quality education
Well, thank you.
rather than a picture of something where you are on vacation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you know, I made the joke that I think if I'm going to put on a bikini and put a video out playing the drums and charge, what do you call it? OnlyFans?
Yeah.
Go to OnlyFans and get paid by the pound.
Well, you know, it blows my mind. For the last 6 months, you just got fired, dude. Phyllis Diller would have fired your ass.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
We gotta ask about the Louie Bellson drum battle.
Yeah, let's hear about that one.
I had met, when I was in high school, our jazz band played at the Midwest Conference in Chicago, and Louie Bellson was our guest soloist. So I had met him in the exhibit area the day before, and he was in the Zildjian booth. And so when he came into our rehearsal, he walked in, he goes, "Hey, James, how's it going?" Everybody thought, "Oh my gosh, he knows Louie Bellson." I had just met him. I didn't know him, you know. I knew who he was, obviously. And then 19 years later, he came to be a guest artist in this music series I was a part of called Jazz Under the Stars in Idaho. And I was in this big band. And then I was going to play the first half of the show. Then he would come out and play his charts with the big band. And they said we should do a thing together. So we did, I think it was called a Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing. I think that's what it was. I remember being freaked out because when I left the stage, I had my kit set up and then he had his kit set up below it. I was on a different level. Right. And then, so we're both next to the big band and I had my music stand up. I'm not out there the second half of the show. They bring me out for this big drum battle and we start the tune. My music is gone.
Oh no.
Oh.
And I keep doing, if the video was on Facebook, it's not on YouTube. I'll see if I can dig it out and send it to you or send you a link. And I'm playing and I keep looking around for the music. And what happened is when I was gone, the leader of the band plays trumpet. He had walked back to the trumpet area and grabbed that stand and put it over the trumpet thing. So I'm playing the tune without the music, and you can see me. There's a part where everybody stops, and I keep go to a buzz roll. So because I didn't know where the music stopped. I was just reading a chart, and they took it away. But then we do an exchange back and forth where it starts off with one of those things where it's like you play, you know, trading eights, trading fourths, whatever, and then a question answer thing like I'll play, you play, I'll play, you play. And I just tried to be alert to what he played and answer in the same way that it made sense. And then he would do a big thing, and then I would do a big thing, and then we'd do a thing together, and the band would come back in, and we end or whatever. And you know, but big deal, stole the show and everything like that. And I loved it. I loved every second of it.
Oh, what an honor.
It was just one of those things that I'll never forget. And, you know, it was one of those things that for a while people go, "Oh, I saw you play with Louie Bellson, man. That was the greatest thing I've ever seen," you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so through that same series, Billy Cobham came in a year or two later as a guest. And Billy's just played. I said, "What do you need?" He said, "I don't care. What setup do you want? I don't care." He was as easygoing as it could be. He played and he said, "Let's do this thing together." And it was a Latin chart. And the band got lost because we were going to do 32, 32, 32, 32, 16, 16, 16, 16, 8, 8, 8, 8, 4, 4, 4, 4, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. Band comes in. They didn't come in because they just got lost in the moment. It didn't count, you know, and everything. But we had done it in rehearsal the day before, and it went pretty well. And then he did a clinic, and somebody says, "So where do you get your ideas from?" and everything like that. He said, "You know, I just listen to people who said I stole an idea from James earlier. He doesn't know it yet."
Wow, that's great.
So that was always cool. and he was super gracious and everything. And I think I have that one somewhere on an old video cassette that I've never transferred yet. But
Oh, you got to put that one out. Are you kidding?
you
Jesus,
know,
that would get.
but I
millions.
do know that the band got lost. You know, so
That's that would be an easy one to get lost in. 32, 32, 16, 16.
Yeah.
Where's
yeah,
one?
but you know, it's just one of those moments at that time. I was playing a lot of big band stuff. And then I kind of shifted into, I got this house gig and was playing, 5 nights a week. And that was more like cover tunes and top 40 type stuff. And I that became like my base or my paper route to be able to teach the drum line and do everything else. I call it, being a musician is juggling. I'm teaching lessons. I'm teaching a drum line. I'm playing a gig. I'm doing a studio recording. I'm doing this, whatever. I'm writing a book. I'm writing whatever, You guys all know that because you do it,
Right.
especially Chip. But
Literally.
Literally, Chip juggles.
Yes.
I know I saw Chip at the NAMM show a long time ago. I don't think he didn't have that white then, but
I'm hoping at the Nick's Deck Day that Chip actually plays the drums and juggles chainsaws. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to
That's
see.
what I'm working on. That's what
All
I'm
right.
working on.
Hey, so
It's hard to do a rim flex with a chainsaw.
there you go.
Yeah, right. Hey, so over on YouTube, the winner of whatever you want to give away on YouTube is going to be Jeff Mann.
Jeff,
All right.
man.
Congrats, Jeff.
Let's one per. So we gave Jeff Mann something off of YouTube. Chip, what do we want to give our? Who are we going to?
We have Fred Fisher, ladies and gentlemen.
What do you know,
Yay!
Fred? There you go. So
Fred
Fred
Fisher.
wins something.
I hope Fred donates it to a student because I've always said if I win on these things, give it to a
He
student.
will. He
Yep.
will. He
Yep,
will.
He will. He will for sure. So
Right
awesome.
on, man.
Awesome.
Yeah,
James,
if you guys would
congrats.
just gather that information and get it to me somehow, I'll take care of the rest. And like I
We
said,
will.
I just want to get people taking advantage of these type of shows, not just deck in general, but any of these type of shows that are spreading the knowledge that's helpful to everybody, be it education, professional, recording, triggering, juggling, whatever. Jeremy's always, your different things that you guys all do. You kind of have your specialties. You got jazz, you got whatever. Bart's on the road, touring most of the time, and so Rick is triggering and doing all these sounds. It's like everybody's got these things, and all this stuff is valuable information to people. And it's like it costs nothing for them to watch it. They're on their phones anyway. It's like,
Right.
But if it leads you to buy a book, great. If it leads you to buy, obviously, you guys are authors or have products out there, even if it's online lessons, that's great. If you subscribe to if you subscribe to me, Fred, anybody, just get out there and absorb this information. I mean, all these products I'm giving you away are Vater. I used to work for Vater. I still associate with Vater. I'm just not in that position anymore.
Got it.
So.
Well, James, thank you for your generosity in
thank
that
you.
regard. And thank you so much for coming on the show, man. We're definitely going to have you back on. It's always great to have you commenting and offering great perspectives on the things we talk about, and great to finally talk to you in person.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
it's great to be on.
All
Next
right.
time you have a show and you can't figure out what to do, I can blab. We could talk about the whole Percussive Arts Society thing.
Yeah, we didn't get to that talked about today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that. That sounds great.
You and Jeremy could have a great argument about pizza, which
There you go.
was always fun.
Well, there's not really an argument there. It's
See what I mean?
there's just facts, and then there's non-facts.
There's facts and there's bull beep.
Inconvenient truth.
Okay.
And pickles don't. That's not even a discussion. So anyway,
All right.
Now you pissed off Fred Fisher. Okay, because that's his favorite
Now
thing
you're
in the
trolling.
world.
You're trolling.
You're trolling.
All right.
guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. We love being here every week. We love talking to you and talking about stuff. Oh, and we forgot to do our good things segment. Should we save that for next time?
If you want, or we can do it at the end, whatever you want to do.
The good thing is that we're all together today. There you go.
Yeah. We'll
That's a
leave
good
it there.
thing.
That's
We'll
a
leave
great
it
way
at
to wrap
that.
it up.
Awesome.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Hit it,
See you
Rick.
later. Appreciate it.
Rick, let's hear that Seinfeld.